Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life is Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites throughout communities in Massachusetts. The communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and East Hampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the Van Horn Park, located in Springfield, Mass. So, what is Van Horn Park like?
It's really could be called a double system because it has two dams, two reservoirs, basically two parks. One park is more important than the other. But today we're going to talk about those and where to get in, and also talk about the brook, because there's only one brook that serves those two reservoirs. Now, the upper or easternmost reservoir and dam is the larger of the two, and it's slightly older, from 1864, compared to the lower one, our western one, from 1870. And Van Horn Brook flows from east to west, first into the eastern and then into the western. And it includes space towards the south where you can play all the athletic sports you think of: soccer, football, baseball, tennis, basketball. There's extremely large fields around that area. So it's both a walking park, a former drinking water reservoir, and a place where you can have recreation. And it's heavily used by the residents of Springfield because it's the second largest park around Springfield. And the trails around the upper one are quite extensive, over 2 miles of trails. And they do branch off in a few places, so you have to get used to them. And I'm sure if you go there, you start to appreciate them very much.
And when were the dams and reservoirs made?
Yes, in 1864, the eastern one was made in order to provide the people of Springfield drinking water supply, and it lasted a very long time. And in 1870, the westernmost one was built, both on the same brook, and its dam is much more visible because when you walk through it, you can see the elevated earthen dam, and then the spillway is very obvious in that one too. And the only one with trail around it is the eastern or upper one, and these were used for drinking water sources until 1922 when they changed the whole. About 19 teens when they changed it into just a place, and a school was put there for truants. In 1922, they really built up the recreational part of it, and they make the athletic fields, the swings and playgrounds, and the walking paths. So they developed through the years greatly.
And really quick, before we continue with the rest of our interview, for more information or to sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltours.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops along each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours or other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214 @yahoo.com. And his tours make for fun, educational, outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, is the park easy to access?
Yes, in most cases, it's quite easy to access. You can get right in there, and the parking lot is quite extensive, so it can hold a lot of cars for all these recreational activities. And you can also go in the parking lot to get onto the walking trails around that easternmost reservoir, which is also a cross-country course. Now, the lower reservoir, the western reservoir, doesn't have one set place to park. And a lot of people park right on the public streets, and they do that, and they walk in, and there's a big walking path, one of those paths on the eastern reservoir goes up onto the dam. One goes down to the spillway area, and then the spike from one of them down into the start of the spillway. So it's a nice little system down there too. So it's easy to get into these places. Just use a map to find it, and it's well built, and so in you go.
And tell us about the brook and the land.
Okay, the brook itself is the Van Horn Brook. It was named after the landowner from 200 years ago, who was Lyman Van Horn, and his land had this brook on it, and it flows east to west, and it ends up go into the Connecticut River. And the land itself is very extensive, and it goes from Van Horn Park upwards to the Springfield Chicopee border and a little bit over. And part of his land was converted into the Fairview Cemetery in Chicopee and other cemeteries there. So he had a great deal of land, and he's actually buried in that cemetery, Fairview Cemetery. So it's quite an extensive park, and it's a wonderful history when you look into it. And I'll try to find trail maps for you and put them on the page for this park, Van Horn Park. Thank you.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can check out a large selection of our other podcasts on his website, as well as on SoundCloud.com. And be sure to stay up to date with new videos and podcasts posted daily. Thank you for tuning in.